Love GAA history? Then you'll love going deeper with Over the Bar's Cordia Club membership. For just €5 a month, you'll get exclusive member-only episodes and series, early ad-free access to the main podcast, plus detailed show notes, a newsletter, and the chance to have your questions answered. Join Michael Foley and Kieran O'Hara as they uncover the stories, the legends, and the questions that shaped our games. Don't just listen, be part of the club. Join now at overthebar.club.
Since the dawn of the GAA in 1884, the telling of its stories have been just as important as the sports. Through the years, heroes and matches have been immortalised, inspiring generation after generation. But some of its most important stories have also gotten lost or turned into legend. And in this series, we will explore some of the GAA's most fascinating forgotten tales, separating rumour from reality and myth from the truth that is often more amazing than the fiction. I'm Michael Foley.
And I'm Kieran O'Hara.
So join us for Over the Bar, exploring the histories of the GAA.
GAA Cordia Gael, and welcome to the latest edition in the magical mystery tour that is Michael Foley's trawl through the origins of the GAA jerseys of the country. And am I so glad that it's him that puts these polls out on the machine formerly known as Twitter, because these can be quite painful at times, Michael.
Well, they can be close. They can be. You might go in hoping that one wins, and maybe they don't always get over the line for you. But this one was pretty. I wouldn't say they romped home, but they did quite well. It was Longford versus Louth, Kieran, the clash of the Leinster Titans, and we ended up with the great men of Longford coming through. So it's the Longford jersey we're looking at today.
So that being blue with gold / amber trim.
Correct.
So
exactly.
What is the origin of the Longford jersey, Michael?
Well, it was hard enough to figure it out, Kieran, I'll be honest with you. I tell you, I'm glad you said as well that, you know, that I do the Twitter polls, because I'd hate it to be the case that I do all the jersey episodes, because that's definitely not going to be the case. Let me tell you. But I
think there may be a slight imbalance so far that I probably am regretting drawing attention to now.
Don't worry, you'll get yours all right. But to be fair, we did have a conversation about this, because we have to divvy up the work at some stage. And I did say to Kieran, look, I've had a look into the Longford situation, and it's pretty barren. It's pretty sparse, the information. So I've gone down the rabbit hole. I'll continue down the rabbit hole. So I did take this one on.
I can tell you now, for all our Cordia listeners, the subject of this week's episode is the greatest goal scorer in GAA history. And I was much happier on that topic.
Loads of lists, loads of star names. Always very easy to get your teeth into. But no, listen. The thing about the jersey episodes, I've said it probably every other jersey episode we've done. It's not just about the jersey. It actually brings you back to the origin of the county.
I thought you were going to give me something classic, like it's not the jersey, it's the destination.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Well, you just hope you get to the destination, which is tell us where the jersey came from, rather than all your ramashing trying to fill time. So it's not all time for the Kieran. There is an interesting story always be told around the origin story of the counties themselves as GAA entities, and that usually comes in conjunction with the jersey. In Longford's case, it's a lot more, as I say, it's sparse. The information about why the jersey changed from one thing to the next. I mean, it didn't start out as blue and gold. That only came in, well into the 20th century. And why it changed, we don't really know, but I think that's reflective, though, of...
That's the thing we found, isn't it? Like, that you delve deep into the archives, and it's just something that happens without any mention.
Absolutely. Like, we think now, the jerseys are such a big thing because,
Imagine
that's
the motions
the colours.
at various county conventions to change colours at the moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like it would be the subject of huge debate in any county, whereas these things all just occurred probably on the basis of new jerseys arrived. Oh, what colour are they? They're blue.
They're not even reported. Like, you can go to the years around which you have an idea that the jersey changed. It's not even mentioned that Longford are wearing their brand new green or blue jerseys with a gold sash or whatever the case may be. It's just not mentioned. They just they're pushing on with whatever has to be done. But I think in the case of Longford, it actually reflects a very fractured existence, a really difficult story, a difficult birth for the GAA in Longford over the course, probably you could say, of the first 40 years. Like, it was not a stable concern. It was at times really popular, the games and the clubs, and plenty of them there was. But then at times it just disappeared off the complete face of the earth. There was none at all. Like, I mean, in 1900, there was 0 GAA clubs in Longford. 0.
Wow.
You know? I mean, if you went back 11 years previously, in 1889, there was 13 clubs. You know, there was 25 clubs by 1890, but 10 years later, there was 0. You know, 6 popped up in 1901. So, like, that's what I'm talking about. It's very fractured, very broken up. You know, the fact that they even play the odd inter-county game and have to go and bother getting jerseys is a bit of an achievement in itself. So, yes, we have an idea of where the jersey colours came from, but we can't say for absolute sure and certain. But as I say, I think there's a good story to be told about why that is the case.
So tell. Please, Michael, tell.
Yes, I will. So, like, obviously we all know that the GAA was formed in November 1884. It was nearly about 4.5 years later that we had the first recorded match in Longford. Now, that's not to say that they weren't playing away like mad before that, but the first recorded match in Longford was in February 1889 in Ballymahan Fair Green. Kieran, there should be a plaque there to note the meeting of Longford Davits and Ballymahan O'Briens. Ballymahan won by 3 points and no score. The first county board was formed in October 1889. So before that, you had challenge games and now tournament matches and bits and pieces like that. So there was plenty of football and hurling being played, particularly football. What appears, it's mentioned in a few different academic papers actually on the origins of sport in Longford and so on. One of the things that sport in general struggled with in Longford, particularly in this era in the 1880s, which was an era where games were becoming codified. It was a Victorian sort of a thing. I suppose it's a legacy of the Victorian era, is the codifying of soccer, rugby, and Gaelic
sport
games.
In general.
Sport in general, exactly. Longford struggled with that. It seems that they found it hard to wean people off the old ways. So, as I said, they had plenty of clubs and membership in the early years. But as I'll explain, the way Gaelic games was played in Longford may have been slightly different to other places. For example, the football they used was bigger than other places and not entirely round. Exactly round. So that was different, obviously, in itself. So,
did the Longford board ever take responsibility for basketball in Ireland in the 40s or anything?
We will direct you to our episode on the 1948 Irish basketball team that was packed with players from the Midlands, if
That's
I'm right.
why I ask.
You see, everything is linked up here. We just say random stuff. Anyway, so it was slightly different in that way. So very rural population. It wasn't, there was an analysis of the membership done in Longford back in this era. And it was very, very much farmers, farm labourers, people in the countryside, rather than, we'd say, I suppose, people working in shops and so on. Now, the people who worked in the towns obviously played as well, but it was the vast majority were living in the countryside. So it was slightly different in that way to other places. As I say, challenge games and tournaments were played away until the county board was formed in October 1889. The first president of Longford GAA, by the way, very interesting fella, J.P. Farrell was his name. He worked for the Roscommon Herald. Now, what's a great source, by the way, for this era is Royal Irish Constabulary reports on GAA clubs, numbers, membership, because it's around this time
that they start spying on them.
Exactly. It's around, like we've mentioned it before in other episodes, it's now that the Irish Republican Brotherhood, the IRB, try to and succeed in taking over the positions of power in the GAA. So that makes the GAA a target for RIC intelligence. So we get a lot of information now from this. So their files would suggest that J.P. Farrell was the ruler of Longford GAA. He was the emperor of the whole thing, to the point that all match reports, for example, that would appear in the newspaper had to go through him. And he would alter the reports if there was any sort of, anything to cause offence or friction within the association. He was an MP later on, but so that was the level of control that he exerted. The first county championship was in March 1890, and it played out perfectly fine. June 1890, we had the first county final in Longford, played at Abbey Cartron Lane, which I think is just near Longford town.
It's in the town. It is, and that is where Longford town were based for a number of years.
Oh, really? Oh, well, we're going to have to assume there was sports playing fields there. So for many years before that, presumably could be the same site. Cullen-Kills beat Rathclyne John Martins a goal to 4 points. And at that time, of course, any number of goals beat any number of points. So Cullen-Kills were the first county champions football in Longford. An interesting thing to note as well, and I wonder whether this is a thing, if the GAA struggled to get people to sort of gather around the notion of having a codified set of games, if that was a problem, maybe they went more so down the political route. So by late 1890, Longford GAA insisted that all GAA members must also sign up to the Irish National League. Now, the Irish National League was the party led by Charles Stuart Parnell. It's the Home Rule Party, essentially. So if you wanted to be a GAA member in Longford, you also had to be a member of the Irish National League. And indeed, by 1890, the 25 clubs that were in existence by 1890, 19 of them had some form of a nationalist name. So you had Davids and Emmets and, like I mentioned, John Martins there, Mandevilles, Fitzgerald's.
The Davids ones are always intriguing at this time because it's not posthumous commemoration.
No, like most, a good share of these aren't, or if they are, these people only died in maybe a year or two later. Okay, you have Henry Grattan's later, Daniel O'Connell, Dillon's, Healy's, Ballymaccormack Grattan's, for example, their jersey was black and red with a harp and a spray of shamrock with H. Grattan and GAA in letters embroidered in green and amber. So I suppose what I'm saying, and this is important in terms of explaining why Longford GAA fell apart in this era, there was a very much a nationalist sense to this. They were representing for something more than the games. Now, I would still say, and as I say, people who have written about Longford GAA in the context of the development of sport there, people played because they liked hurling and football. Like it wasn't necessarily a political statement by them, but certainly by Longford County Board and the people running the clubs and the people administrating. It was absolutely cheek by jowl. The politics was cheek by jowl with sport. And because of that, what became known as the Parnell split that occurred, which I'll explain in a second, arguably had more of an impact on Longford than the vast majority of other GAA units around the country. So for anyone who's not familiar with the Parnell split, or maybe has just gone too far away from their Leaving Cert history studies to recall all of this, Charles Stuart Parnell, as I say, the primary nationalist leader of the 1880s. He is named in a divorce case involving a Captain William O'Shea, who was an MP for Clare, and Catherine O'Shea. Himself and Catherine O'Shea have had a long-standing affair that Captain O'Shea was aware of. But when he goes forward and sues for divorce, this is through 1889. By the end of 1890, Parnell has lost the leadership of the Irish National League because of the inverted commas scandal that has arisen about this. So by December 1890, he's gone. Ireland is split in terms of whether they think Parnell should have been retained or whether they were right to get rid of him. And the GAA itself is split as well in terms of who goes where. As I said, this is also a time when the IRB is taking control of the GAA. So it's a very, very fragile time. In January 1891, just to illustrate how, I suppose, entangled the two things are in Longford. In January 1891, there are two major political meetings, right? One, Tim Healy, the MP, speaks at it. It's an anti-Parnell meeting. There's a torchlit procession where the torches are held and carried, and Tim Healy is led up to the stage by GAA members wearing their club gear. There's another meeting. It's pro Parnell in Longford, where the number of GA people is said to be much less prominent. So even though Longford County Board has officially said we're staying out of this, the people are speaking in Longford, the GA membership are speaking in Longford. I mean, there was a pro-Parnell meeting at some point around this period that went through Ballymaccormack that I just mentioned. The players broke off from training to ambush the people who were walking through the area on their way to a pro-Parnell meeting. So that's where we're at. By the springtime of 1891, there's more confusion because the second county championship has started, but the matches are being played during Lent. That's not going to go down well with the clergy, or at least no one is sure whether it'll go down well or not. So, but it turns out that of the 13 games scheduled to be played, 10 aren't played. There's big disputes over the games. The games that do get played, they're not resolved. The tension around the Parnell split is immense within the GA clubs themselves. So in the end, the 1891 championship is actually cancelled, and that heralds the demise of Longford County Board. There's an attempt at an annual convention that October in 1891. One person turns up to the convention. So there is now no Longford County Board, but the clubs continue playing. They actually have the highest number of clubs. I mentioned the RIC before. They break the country up into divisions and areas to concentrate on. There are 8 counties in the Midlands division, but that would include, I mean, we think of the Midlands, we're not thinking of Ulster, but Cavan is in this. It goes over to Leitrim as well on the other side. So it's that kind of middle group there. But Longford has the second highest number of clubs, even though there's no county board. Only Cavan has more clubs. So the game is still being played, but it goes back again, there are major issues in matches around crowd encroachment, players being messed with by the crowd, pulling the crossbar down, Kieran, to prevent a goal, because the crossbars that time were mostly twine. So if the ball was going in, looked like it was going into the net, you pull the crossbar down, it's over the bar, it's a point. Players were being assaulted, and as I said, they used a football that was like nowhere else. It was larger and it wasn't round at all. So the idea of playing intercounty games, this is where we get on to, well, what's the story with the jersey? The idea of playing an intercounty game in this scenario seems impossible. There's no county board. But they actually do manage to play a form of an intercounty game anyway. In February 1895, even though there's no county board, Longford Shamrocks play Mullingar Shamrocks for the Silver Cup, a Silver Cup. It's said to be the Silver Cup tournament, as though it's been going on for years. It's a draw, and by the time the replay happens, Longford Shamrocks have become Longford Commercials, and they lose 1-6 to a point. So Mullingar win it. But that's the first sort of intercounty game.
Thus commencing the long-standing rivalry between Longford and Westmeath.
Big time. Big time, yeah.
Love GEA history? Then you love going deeper with Over the Bar's Cordia Club membership. For just €5 a month, you'll get exclusive member-only episodes and series, early ad-free access to the main podcast, plus detailed show notes, a newsletter, and the chance to have your questions answered. Join Michael Foley and Kieran O'Hara as they uncover the stories, the legends, and the questions that shaped our games. Don't just listen, be part of the club. Join now at overthebar.club.
I suppose you could call it the first sort of organised, very much this is an intercounty game, was in the Croke Cup in February 1897, 2 years later. Longford played Louth. Again, Longford Shamrocks, Longford Commercials represented Longford in the game. And they complained that there was no one else. They just took it on because no one else would play them for the honour of being Longford, as it were. And they lost 10 to 3 points. It was played actually in Oldcastle. So it was kind of a halfway house, I suppose, between Longford and Louth. So, but by this stage, let's say 1897, after this, no county board. The clubs are struggling to hang in there. Between 1898 and 1901, essentially soccer takes over in Longford. GAA disappears, as I say. No GAA clubs 1900. There's a half dozen by 1901. But now it's a soccer county.
And I wonder, is this the point when Abbey Carton becomes a soccer ground?
Well, there's actually, interestingly enough, around this time, Longford Park is developed as well in 1902. This is not what becomes Pierce Park in time. Longford play their games in Longford Park. I think it's between 1902 and about 1937. and then Pearse Park comes in as a proper county ground for them. But I mean, it's around then before Longford actually really stabilises at all as a county, as an existing county, a regular county in the Leinster Football Championship, for example. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good question about Abbey Carter. It may well be, because in GA terms, nothing really happens for a few more years. It's not until, and again, the politics comes into it, Kieran, it's not until, I suppose, the nationalist parties of the time align again, they kind of coalesce to some degree, and you have a sort of a solid, reasonably solid nationalist kind of political base again. And so you have Gaelic leagues, for example, appearing, and that helps GA clubs to reorganise. Longford Leo Casey's, for example, are a hurling team that appear in 1904. This is the same year that the county board is revived in Longford, and it's the same year that Longford play in the Leinster Senior Football Championship for the first time. Longford are the last county to affiliate to the Leinster Council, which gives you an idea. They were on the outside trying to get themselves together for so long. It's a real battle for them. And it continues. I mean, you'd think, okay, 1904, they're playing Leinster Senior Football. They're going to be, it's all good now, but it's not. By 1910, Longford County Board is gone again. They haven't played a county championship since 1907. Then the Rising comes in. World War I is ongoing. The Spanish flu decimates the country. It's all delayed. Before 1925, they managed to get a Longford team into 5 Leinster Football Championships. Then they're in there from 1925 to 30. But it's not until 1938 that they're fully in every single year. They don't win their first championship match till 1928. And the backdrop to all that is this dysfunction at local level. Between 1890 and 1927, that's, 37, 38 championship seasons. Basically, there's 28 seasons with no club championship. Nothing at all. So, I mean, there's no base there at all to kind of really build the game, grow the game.
What colours did they wear in the early days? Do we know?
We do. I'm getting to that. I'll get to it now. I'm here. We've arrived. Some fantastic names of clubs. Don't worry, I'm going somewhere with this. People, it's all links in the change. Stay with me. So, Legan Sarsfields now, right? They were once called Legan Sunbursts. Isn't that nice?
Tell you what, that's colourful. That makes you think of our local fruits.
I think of the dawning of the age of Aquarius or something when I hear that. Legan Sunbursts. Let the sun shine in. Moydo, is it Moydo? Moydo? Would that be a place?
I don't know that one.
It may well be. Someone will correct me, I hope. Moydo Harpers. But now we come along to the club that we need to talk about. And you're going to correct me on this one, right? Is it Clongish or Clonguish?
Clongish, I think.
Clongish Gallo Glasses. Clongish Gallo Glasses wore white and green with CGFC on the front and a big shamrock in the middle. And they are the club that loaned Longford a set of jerseys for their first games back in that early period. So for many years, Longford wore green and white. The blue and gold that we are familiar with, it does not come in until around 1918. And when it does come in, it comes in with a gold sash with Longford on it. So for many years, Longford played with blue and a gold sash. The sash is ditched around 1930. And we are given the version we have now, which is the blue with the gold trim. Why it went to blue with a gold trim, why blue with a gold sash, I don't know. And Clongish, I think they still wear white and green, as far as I'm aware.
Green.
Yeah, green.
Definitely.
Yeah, green, right?
Green and white, I think.
But there was a period in the 1940s. I came across this reference in a local match report. There was a period where Clongish wore blue with a gold sash, same colours as the county. So I don't know whether was there a period where the county kind of just respected that ancient tradition that had been established first off, and Clongish maybe donated another set of jerseys with blue and gold when they were wearing those sometime in around 1918. I don't know, but that is certainly it. Wearing the blue and gold, of course, it's synonymous with Longford now, but there was a period where they did consider getting rid of it. There was a period in the 50s where they played Wicklow, they played Laois and Dublin kind of multiple times over a few years, and they had to change strip, and I'm not sure whether they changed just into green, which would have been the thing at the time, I think, would have just been to change into the provincial colours, Leinster being green. There, again, you read the reports, there's absolutely no mention of what colour Longford wore in these games. But what there is a mention of is at the 1958 County Convention in January, complaints that, oh, look, we're just sick of changing jerseys here. Can we not just pick a brand new colour, set of colours that nobody has? And there was serious consideration given to changing the Longford jersey in 1958 from the blue that we know with the gold trim to red, crimson red, as a matter of fact, with a gold hoop. That could have happened.
That would be a very unique jersey. I can't think of any other county that has anything similar.
Nothing like it. I mean, I can think of, obviously, Castlebar Mitchell's come to mind. I think Éire Óg and Cork wear red with a gold band, but that would have been what Longford would have worn if they had gone, you know what, we're just sick of having to change our strip. Let's just go with this. But as it turned out, Kieran, they stayed with the blue and gold. And there has been some nice sort of blue and gold versions. For our members, I'll attach a link to a fantastic website where Longford GA Stats, where they do this brilliant run through of all the jersey designs they've ever had, going right back. It's lovely. I know Dennis Hurley, who's a magnificent GA jersey aficionado, had something to do with this as well. But there's I know I'm a sucker for pinstripes, an absolute sucker for pinstripes, and they had a fantastic blue jersey with yellow pinstripes going at one stage, which is just a work of art. But I'm kind of glad they kept the blue with the gold trim. I think they were, the red and the gold band would have been nice, but I don't know. I like the blue. And they actually made the point that said, in 58, they were saying, well, blue with gold isn't really traditional to us. I mean, we got rid of the sash without even talking about it. So, what's wrong with red and gold? But, I think they've had long enough with it now that they're going to have to stick with it.
So, to be clear, there's no link between the Parnell split and the colours.
Not that I know of. But there is a massive link between the Parnell split and Longford's struggle to organise themselves as a GAA entity for many, many years. And I think that is reflected in the jersey changes and the lack of sort of clarity around why anything happened in Longford for a long time. But they went from green and white to blue with a gold sash to blue with the gold trim as we have it now. That was the journey they made all the way up to around 1930, I think.
Well, all I can say is I joked at the start that the jersey, not the destination, but actually in this case, it's the journey that's been more interesting than the destination because it is one of those jerseys that just the truth ultimately is lost to history. But nonetheless, there's a fascinating history to Longford's story there. And I did just check on the Longford Stats website that you alluded to, which has the grounds history. And Longford Park actually was the dog track, finished up as a dog track in Longford, was at one stage home to Longford Town FC and home to the GAA, and was only closed in recent years.
Oh wow. Still going up to recently. So would that be Abbey Carton Lane then?
No, Abbey Carton Lane is actually a soccer ground to this day. It's, I think, the Longford and District League or one of the local leagues still operate from it.
Fantastic.
But Longford Park was, for a long time, owned by a company which made it available for the use of GAA cricket, soccer, as well as fairs and exhibits. So, was obviously the premier sports facility in the town for a very long time. And it only closed in 2020. And it has still been preserved for recreational use. There's now a skate park developed on the site and other public amenities.
Terrific. Skate park. Love it.
It's far from skate parks that the Parnell split occurred.
Oh, dearie me. Although they were pretty unsure in their feet at that time about a lot of things, to be fair. So,
I can't imagine how painful some of that research was.
Did it sound painful, Kieran?
No, it didn't. It sounded like you actually enjoyed finding all these. Because that is, you get the social history of a place and a time, and you see the challenge that the GAA had in establishing itself. We take for granted that now when we see it having a presence all over the country, that was easily established. That wasn't actually the case. And Longford, again, is proof of that. So, folks, thanks again for listening. If you are listening in one of your applications on your devices, please do give us a like, a share, or a subscribe. And if you're looking for a little bit more, do join us for our Corja Club exclusives. We have one this week on the top scorer, goal scorer in championship history. And another thing to keep an eye out for, obviously, is that last week we started a new series, The Week That Was. That will be available as an ad-free early release to members and in your own feeds on Saturdays. And we have something else in the pipeline that's coming up in the next couple of weeks, folks, for our members. So do consider coming over and joining. It's less than the cost of a match programme. Until next time, Tor Ara.
Bye-bye.
Love GEA history? Then you love going deeper with Over the Bar's Corja Club membership. For just €5 a month, you'll get exclusive member-only episodes and series, early ad-free access to the main podcast, plus detailed show notes, a newsletter, and the chance to have your questions answered. Join Michael Foley and Kieran O'Hara as they uncover the stories, the legends, and the questions that shaped our games. Don't just listen, be part of the club. Join now at overthebar.club.